Picture this. You are standing in a lush green village in the heart of the Philippe pines. The air is thick with the scent of humid earth and tropical blooms. You hear a group of children singing a famous folk song called Bahay Kubo. It is a song every Philippe knows by heart. It celebrates a small traditional hut and the humble garden that surrounds it. The lyrics list a bounty of vegetables: jicama, eggplant, winged beans, peanuts, tomatoes, garlic, ginger. The song is a warm, fuzzy blanket of national identity. It tells the story of the land and the people. It feels ancient. It feels native. It feels like the very soul of the islands. But here is the twist. Here is the secret that would make those singing children stop in their tracks. Almost every single plant mentioned in that traditional song is a stranger. They are immigrants. They are invaders. The jicama, that is from Mexico. The peanut, also Mexico. The tomato, that is a native of the South American Andes. The eggplant comes from India. The pineapple is from Brazil. If you were to take that song and go back 500 years in a time machine, the garden would be completely empty. The children would be singing about nothing. Welcome to a mystery that is hiding in plain sight. It is hiding in your backyard. It is hiding in the local botanical garden. It is hiding in the salad on your dinner plate. We have been taught to think of nature as something static, something that has always been the way it is. We talk about native landscapes as if they were museum pieces. But the truth is far more chaotic. We are living in the middle of a 500-year-long biological explosion. Scientists have a name for this new era. They call it the Homogenocene, the age of the same. Today, we are going to look at how your garden became a crime scene. We are going to explore how a few ornamental plants and accidental stowaways managed to conquer the planet, rewrite our memories of home, and turn the entire world into one giant biological McDonald's. How did this happen? How did a plant from the mountains of Mexico end up as a cultural icon in Southeast Asia? The answer begins with a ship, specifically the Manila Galleons. For 250 years, from 1565 to 1815, these massive wooden ships sailed back and forth across the Pacific Ocean. They were the world's first global supply chain. They carried silver from the mines of Bolivia to buy silks and spices from China, but they were not just carrying silver. They were carrying the biological code of two different worlds. Every time a ship docked in Manila, it brought more than just sailors. It brought seeds stuck to the bottom of boots. It brought fruit for the crew to eat during the voyage. It brought soil in pots to keep flowers alive for the wealthy governors. This was the biological Big Bang. Before 1492, the worlds of the East and the West were like two different planets. They had different trees, different bugs, and different fruits. But once the Manila Galleons started crossing the ocean, the walls came crashing down. The plants of the Americas began a silent invasion of Asia. The chili pepper, which we now think of as the soul of Thai and Chinese cuisine. That was a Mexican native that hitched a ride on a galleon, the sweet potato that saved millions from famine in China. Another immigrant. But the most fascinating and terrifying part of this story is not about what we chose to bring. It is about what we brought by accident. Let us move our gaze from the Philippe pines to the crystal blue waters of the Caribbean. Imagine a lush island like Jamaica or Barbados in the 1600s. You see a green paradise, right? Well, that green is a lie. The original Caribbean was a place of thick, dense shrubs and specialized trees. But when the European colonists arrived, they brought cattle, and cattle need grass. The problem was that the local plants were not used to being stepped on and chewed by heavy animals. They died out. So, the colonists looked for a solution. They needed a tough, aggressive grass that could handle the heat and the hunger of a cow. And they found it in a very dark place. They found it in the bedding of slave ships. For centuries, ships carrying captured people from West Africa used dried grass and hay as mats for the people to lie on during the horrific Middle Passage. When these ships reached the New World, the crew would take those mats, walk onto the shore, and shake them out to clean the ship for the return voyage. Hidden in those mats were the seeds of Guinea grass and Bermuda grass. These were African survivors. They were evolved to handle grazing and heat. Once they hit the soil of Jamaica, they didn't just grow, they exploded. They outran the native plants. They spread across the islands like a green wildfire. Within decades, the entire look of the Caribbean had changed. The diverse, complex ecosystem of the islands was replaced by a massive uniform carpet of African grass. Think about the irony. A plant brought in the bottom of a death ship became the foundation of the new colonial economy. To the people living there today, that grass looks like part of the scenery. It looks natural. But it is a ghost. It is a biological footprint of one of the darkest chapters of human history. This brings us to the present day. If you look at your own garden, you are probably looking at a collection of beautiful killers. We have a strange obsession with the exotic. We want the most vibrant flowers, the most unusual leaves, the most striking shapes. And we spend billions of dollars to move these plants across the globe to decorate our homes. Take a plant like Lantana camare. You have probably seen it. It has beautiful clusters of tiny, multicolored flowers, yellow, pink, orange, and red, all on one bush. It looks like a bouquet of sunshine. In the 1800s, European gardeners were obsessed with it. They took it from South America and shipped it to India, Australia, and Southeast Asia. But Lantana has a secret. It is a biological bully. In its native home, there are bugs and fungi that keep it in check. But in a new country, it has no enemies. It grows fast. It forms thick, impenetrable thorns. It poisons the soil around it so that other plants cannot grow. In countries like India, Lantana has taken over millions of acres of forest. It has crowded out the native trees that elephants and tigers depend on. It is a beautiful monster that we invited into our homes and then let escape through the back door. Or think about the iconic palm tree. You see a row of tall palms, and you think of the beach, right? You think of an island paradise. But look at the city of Los Angeles, the fan palms that define the skyline of California. They aren't all from there. Many were imported from Mex, Ico, and the Middle East because they looked cool in real estate brochures in the early 1900s. Now, they are dying from a fun gust that also traveled across the globe. This is what we call the McDonaldization of the biosphere. Have you ever noticed that the garden of a luxury hotel in Singapore looks almost exactly like the garden of a luxury hotel in Miami or the garden of a shopping mall in Dubai? You see the same hibiscus, the same bougain, violet, the same Bermuda grass, the same ficus trees. We are erasing the biological uniqueness of our planet. For millions of years, evolution worked by keeping things separate. The plants of Madagascar grew differently than the plants of South Carolina. The isolation created variety. It created the wonder of life. But in the last 500 years, we have become a giant blender. We are mixing everything together. This leads to a phenomenon called the green void. Imagine a forest where all the plants look healthy and green. But when you look closer, there are no birds. There are no butterflies. There are no bees. Why? Because the plants in that forest are all invaders. The local insects haven't evolved to eat them. The birds don't recognize their seeds as food. It is a dead zone disguised as a garden. We are creating landscapes that are beautiful to the human eye, but useless to the rest of the planet. And here is where it gets a little uncomfortable. We also globalize the pests. Remember when we talked about the Philip pines and the tomato? Well, when you move a tomato, you eventually move the things that eat tomatoes. You move the fungi, you move the aphids, you move the viruses. There is a moth called the diamondback moth. It loves to eat cabbage and broccoli. Because humans have planted cabbage everywhere from Greenland to New Zealand, the moth has followed us. It is now one of the most widely distributed insects on Earth. It has become a global citizen. It has become homogenized. We didn't just bring the seeds of the garden. We brought the army that destroys the garden too. You might be wondering, does any of this really matter? So what if a Filipino song mentions Mexican vegetables? So what if the car IBBN has African grass? Isn't this just part of the new world we live in? The answer is yes and no. It matters because diversity is the immune system of the planet. When every garden is the same, one disease can take out the entire system. When we lose the native plants, we lose the knowledge of how to live on the land. We lose the medicine, the food, and the culture that evolved with those specific plants over thousands of years. But there is also a deeper psychological cost. Our sense of home is being blurred. If every city you visit looks the same and smells the same because of the same ornamental trees and the same ornamental flowers, you lose the sense of being anywhere specific. You are just in the Homogenocene. You are just in the lobby of a global hotel. So what do? Do we start a war against the Lantana? Do we pull up every tomato in the Philippines because it isn't native? Of course not. We cannot put the genie back in the bottle. We cannot undo 500 years of biolog-ical mixing. The chili pepper is staying in Thailand. The potato is staying in Ireland. The jicama is staying in the Bahay Kubo. But what we can do is start to pay attention. We can start to recognize the difference between a landscape that is alive and a landscape that is just decorative. We can stop planting the same 5 invasive species just because they are easy to grow. We can look for the survivors of the original world, the plants that actually belong to the soil beneath our feet. The story of the garden is the story of our power. We are the most effective seed dispersers in the history of the earth. We have outdone the wind, the rain, and the birds. We have changed the world more in 500 years than nature did in 5 million. That is an incredible power, but it comes with a responsibility to know what we are doing. The next time you walk through a garden, I want you to look past the colors. Look at the leaves. Ask yourself, where did you come from? Who brought you here? Was it a Spanish galleon? Was it the bottom of a boot? Was it a gardener looking for a little bit of exotic beauty? Every plant has a story. Every garden is a map of global trade, human greed, and accidental discovery. We are surrounded by biological history. We are walking through an invasion that started with Columbus and never really stopped. The world is not a pristine wilderness. It is a work in progress. It is a mashup. It is a remix. And you are a part of it. When you buy a potted plant at the store, you are making a choice that will ripple out through the next 100 years. You are adding a new line to the code of the Homogenocene. So, keep singing the song of the Bahay Kubo. Celebrate the jicama and the tomato. They are a part of our history now, but also, take a second to look for the things the song forgot. Look for the ancient, quiet plants that were there before the ships arrived. Because in the end, a garden is more than just a collection of plants. It is a reflection of who we are. It is a story of how we broke the world and how we are trying to make it grow again. Stay curious, stay green, and remember that sometimes, the most dangerous thing in the world is just a beautiful flower looking for a place to grow. History is under your feet, it is in your backyard, and it is much hungrier than you think. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the green secrets of our world. If you enjoyed this trip through the biolog Big Bang, don't forget to look at your own garden with new eyes. Every leaf has a passport. Every bloom has a hidden past. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we will see you in the next one. Until then, keep your roots deep and your mind open. The Homogenocene is a wild ride, and we are all just beginning to understand what it means. Goodbye for now.